Stugotz, welcome back. I am not generally, as you know, someone who excoriates athletes. I like to enjoy and mock some of the absurdity around sports, but I generally don't spend a lot of time hammering athletes for things, so that I got into a controversy last college basketball season when I said of Zach Edey, I just don't like watching any of what's happening there. Aesthetically. It's not even athletically, though that too. I just don't love, even as many people don't love the evolutions that there have been in the pro game of somebody cement-footed who's just bigger and stronger than everyone else, who doesn't exactly play like Shaq while being bigger and stronger than everyone else.
In 1985, he would have been the first pick in the draft.
So he went 9th last night, but the reason that I just bring this up, because the sport has changed so much that once upon a time, that's the guy you take first. I saw that Florida has a commitment from a player who's 7'9". I saw on our Twitter account a woman in China who is 7'5". Are we making these people bigger than we've ever made them? Where are these things coming from that Wembanyama is somebody athletically who could do things at 7'4" that you've never seen? And I don't know if this 7'5" woman from China or this 7'9" kid at the University of Florida can actually play. But if you're 7'9", and you don't get injured, my guess is in basketball, you're going to have a modicum of success being a foot taller than any of the other people out there.
Dan, have you seen the videos of this kid, Oliver Ryu, playing basketball? It looks fake. He's like head and shoulders and almost stomach bigger than everybody else, and he's grabbing the ball and just turning around and dunking it. It's like, is this AI?
How come it's not happening in football? How come there's not one offensive lineman that's like 900 pounds? Like there's not like you would think.
It is. That's why.
Like 900 pounds who can move like Larry Allen.
I'm just saying. I want to like. Right, I'm surprised there isn't some insane outlier offensive lineman out there. They all seem to be generally 6'7", 6'8", 350. Like
Chris.
It was Baselli.
Chris, go ahead and look up. There are freshmen all over campuses who are 400 pounds trying to lose the weight that will make them a defensive tackle at 350. There are 400-pound people wandering around as freshman D tackles out there, because I put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Are we making human beings bigger than we ever had? Because when I saw the video of the woman from China at 7'5", obviously that was wildly unfair. Every time I saw the basketball thrown to her, I felt bad for all of the players who were on the court with her. But I don't know if someone that size can stay healthy running up and down the court. We talked about Bill Walton having 40 surgeries and so many foot problems because it's completely unnatural to put wear and tear on the ligaments at that size.
Well, Dan, good news is there's an article about this in Scientific American. Apparently people have gotten taller over the last 2 centuries, but I'm going to need like 20 minutes to read this and get back to you on why.
She's 17 years old, the Chinese center.
If you're 7'9", it's worth a flyer. Right? I mean, it is. Just to see if the kid can hoop. I mean.
Well, he isn't one of the best prospects, even though he's IMG. He is not he's not as good as you might assume at 7'9", but yes, Florida is a good program, and he was coveted because I'm going to guess 7'9" and growing. If you're just getting to college, I'm guessing that 7'9". I don't know that he is necessarily.
You can't keep growing.
Dan,
he's 7'9", Dan.
He's 18.
It's 3 inches from 8 feet tall.
He's going to put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Is the 7'9" freshman at Florida going to keep physically growing?
It's impossible.
What do you mean
There's
it's
no
impossible?
Way.
You get to college.
7'9", Dan.
I feel like I don't feel like anyone has reached their maximum height by the time they've arrived at college. I believe
I did.
Freshmen physically. Were you this same height?
Me too.
I was taller. Yeah, I'm shrinking now.
You were taller?
Yeah.
Because I think of college in metaphorical and physical ways as a time of growth.
How tall were you as a freshman, as little Danny Le Batard?
Little Danny
Le
Batard was not yet 6'3.5". That was not a height I was in college.
But I feel like by college, you're only growing another, inch or 2, maybe.
Well, if you're not
like
7'9", if
right,
you're
then
not,
you're done growing
No.
because you're 7'9".
No, if you're growing at the rate of a 7'9" person, I don't think you stop growing upon college entry.
Jeremy, I'm telling you, look it up. There has to be a guy who entered college at 6'3" and left college at 6'7".
Well, the Anthony Davis is the greatest example in high school.
Come on, what are we doing
my
here?
God, this video's insane.
this-
Wait, that's real?
This video is funny. Wait a minute. He looks like he's playing on a Nerf hoop against fourth graders.
It's like me playing versus like 6-year-olds.
It's absurd. Every time Stugotz comes back from a trip, he comes back. You'll notice it in the weekend observations. He comes back with an assortment of travel observations and airplane specific observations. Did you have any from your most recent travels? Because I feel like I've been denied them recently.
People on airplanes have become annoying. I mean, they really have. I don't know what they're doing. Listen, I have a rule. When you take a flight and it's the first flight out, 6 a.m., 6:15, 5:30, do me a favor. Keep the window down. I'm sitting next to this guy. He's got to have the window up. The sun is shining in my face. I'm trying to sleep. He's taking pictures. Hey, bud, you know what's out there? The clouds, the sun, and the sky. That's what's outside the plane. Why? Because we're flying in the air. I mean, enough with the pictures, enough with this, enough with that. You know what, Dan? Here's the other thing. I caught a guy, I had a show on, and he was watching the show on my TV. Do me a favor. You have your own TV. Stop watching my show. You have your own TV. Watch it with the volume up. You're watching my TV. You're hoarding my stuff. So he's keeping me awake, okay, because the sun's in my eye, because he has to take a picture of the sun, the clouds, a possible mountain range that we fly by. I have no idea. But you can't do that at 6 a.m. And then secondly, because he kept me up, I started watching TV, and he started watching TV with me. What are you doing? Seriously.
So I was on a flight back to Miami this weekend, and I caught the guy next to me watching my screen. I have zero problem with that. I watch everyone else's screen. Doesn't
All
bother
is
me
fair.
at all.
Get your own screen.
But he was in the middle seat. He was pretty large, and he kept like elbowing me. So sometimes you'd look over, and I look over, and he's just going through his pictures. That's something we all do on flights. However, he did not turn his brightness down on his phone, and he kept nudging me. So I look over, and this man was just going through nudes, like just nudes of a bunch of girls. And I'm like, oh, all right, wow, didn't mean to see that. And I'm like, whoa. So he can see that like I've caught that like glimpse, and so he like turns his phone. I'm like, thank God.
It's a dangerous game,
but then
my
he
man.
keeps looking over at my screen. He keeps like he's like a really tall dude, so he keeps elbowing me. And every time he elbows me, I want to look over because you're elbowing me, and he's looking at nude photos.
Is there a chance he wanted you to know that he was looking at nude photos?
I hope not, but if you're, I'm not going to say
showing
anything
off,
about this person, but I hope that the girls out there who are dating them know it's not just you. It's not just you, girlie. Multiple.
Make a TikTok
but
about
it
it.
wasn't like a folder of them. He was just going through his like pictures in general, and he just had them saved out there. I said, you got to get an app for that or something.
Jeremy just brought up something that I saw happen as well on TikTok when he says you could expose this person. I saw recently on TikTok that a woman who saw a husband, a married man, meet a woman at a bar, she then exposed him by overhearing all the entirety of their conversation and giving the details that will absolutely expose that man, not just to the internet, but obviously to his wife as well. And where did people fall on the doing of that, of exposing that person that way for an immorality?
I don't think it's her job to do that. Like, I think if I were in this situation, if that was happening to me, sure, I'd probably want to know if my partner was cheating on me. But, like, the wife of that situation, you don't know any of the context of it. She could know he's cheating on her. They could have an open marriage. Exactly. But you have put her information, well, like, she didn't put her information out specifically, but she gave enough information about the flight, the dude.
With a picture of the guy.
It took 30 seconds for his government name to be found out, for his job to be found out, and then all his wife's information is out there as well. And that's something that she probably didn't want out there. And like, you have to kind of let people deal with their relationship privately. Like, I'm not going to tell anybody that the guy was like looking at other people's nudes. I don't know
Except
the situation.
all of our listeners.
Yeah, but no one knows his name. No one knows any details about him except for that he was tall.
Right,
Where'd you fly in from?
You didn't post a video of him. I feel like this specific example leaves a very icky taste in my mouth. But like, just in general, like the proliferation of filming random strangers in public and posting it and trying to like become involved in their personal lives in some way and like blow it up on TikTok has gotten like really, really weird, and there should be some sort of rules around that sort of thing.
But is it weird, or is it just the inevitable permutation of people seeking attention and virtue signaling at every turn? Like if attention is the currency of the day and you can virtue signal, look, I caught this cheater and I'm exposing him, isn't that just sort of the proliferation of what is happening in general on the internet? Like, how is this inevitable?
It's like I saw someone make the comparison. It's like when someone films themselves giving money to homeless people. Where you're like, hey, what you're doing is good, but like, why are you filming that? You know, why are you
Who
doing
was it,
this?
JJ Watt?
Yeah, like why would you?
Wait, now we're showing
is
it
this?
on screen on our
so
podcast.
We're doing this as like maybe with the information you have found, you can. TikTok found his government name in 30 seconds. Maybe instead, if you really want to help, you find that information out. You don't publicize it, and then you send the "Hey girl" message.
You know what we should do is if she's doing relational vigilantism, then what we do is we take her picture and then we put it out there and be like, do you have dirt on this lady?
She better be
And then all
perfect.
of a sudden,
Eye for an eye.
come on.
Yeah, it's the playing out in public that I think is what makes it weird. Like it's one thing. I think people are conflating it with this happening in a lot of different ways. Like, oh, I overheard someone talking about cheating on their wife, so I sent them a DM on Instagram. That's not what this is. This person took a video and posted it of someone they don't know doing something that they thought was immoral. Not committing a crime as far as we are aware, not doing something.
It's not a crime.
Right. Like not doing something
would say
that's in the public interest necessarily.
I would say that what she did is more criminal than what he was doing. His was an immorality. It's not against the law.
I would say window up 6 a.m. should be a crime. I mean, seriously.
Well, I don't agree with you on the idea of video sharing, though. Like, I feel like you can look at somebody else's television. That's allowed if you don't
why?
want to hook up all of your
That's one of the most
equipment.
incredible things of any flight is going around, seeing who you're sitting next to and what they're watching. Like if Stu, you're a couple of seats in front of me, I'm like, I don't know what that show is. I wonder.
It's
what
always
Stu's
Sports
watching.
Center. Yeah.
Stugotz, I'm sorry. Window open for takeoff and landing. I need to know when I'm landing. So I was on a flight the other day. I had no idea where we were. I was trying to track it on my little screen, and I kind of like just got lost, didn't know when we were landing. All of a sudden we landed, and I gasped out loud because I didn't know what was coming. It was terrifying because the guy next to me had his window closed.
I'm saying it's fine on the landing. I need to know as well. It's the takeoff I'm having issues with. It's 6 a.m. in the morning.
6 a.m. implies,
That's
morning.
redundant. It's like Copa Cup, 6 a.m. in the morning.
Copa here, Cabana there. I mean, enough with soccer.
I don't believe that in the history of words being thrown together in the English language, I've ever heard relational vigilantism.
I've given you
great.
bangers today.
That
Dan
is a
Le
banger.
Batard.
Put it on a shirt.
Bangers.
It was a solid analyzation.
I'm just saying I've never heard it before. I'm giving you credit for unprecedented word choices strung together. In the history of words being spoken and put together, I've never heard relational vigilantism put together.
Thank you.
Mina Kimes will be here shortly. She has lent her name to the debate of the day, which is worst candy, black licorice, or candy corn, and she says Red Hots. She's going off the board and says that Red Hots are worse than either of those things. So put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Worst candy, candy corn, or Red Hots, because black licorice is running away with worst candy.
How is candy corn in this conversation? Like,
A lot of people hate candy corn. There are a lot of people who like it, but a lot of people hate candy corn.
you could be indifferent on candy corn. No one tries it and hates it. I mean, it's delicious.
A lot of people do, Stugotz.
Really?
I like it. You like it, but a lot of people. Look, just earlier in the show, both Jessica and Jeremy, I think, said candy corn is worse than black licorice. I think both
I
of them
like
said
candy
that.
corn, but I defended black licorice against the disgust in which people discuss it because it is not the worst candy that I've ever had. It's perfectly fine.
I think we just need to go back through Chris Whittingham's 2021 Mystery Crate Candy Draft choices because he took Tootsie Roll first overall, one of the worst picks of all time.
Tootsie Roll?
Tootsie Roll first overall,
Maniac.
first
First
off the
overall.
board,
like a
best candy first overall.
It's a
And
late first rounder. I
It-
mean,
Maybe.
First round.
Maybe,
That's a
maybe.
brawny.
that's
Maybe.
way after Bronny. Bronny. That's an undrafted free agent candy. No one is drafting Tootsie Rolls in 2024, please.
An old classic. Have respect respect for some of the old classics. That's a consistency thing. That's a texture thing that he's doing. He likes something that is chewy. I think it's not just flavor. Wow, Lucy, you're making a horrified face at the Tootsie Roll. Tootsie Roll has had a lot of success for many, many years. I feel like you're doing to Tootsie Roll what it is the Swifties just did to Dave Grohl. Like, have some respect for the Tootsie Roll.
Great run.
I'm not
It's a Hall of Famer.
I'm not
The Tootsie Roll.
First ballot.
It's a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying it's a first overall pick either. I'm not saying I even like it that much, but put some respect on the name of the Tootsie Roll, please.
Tootsie Roll is not Dave Grohl, Dan. I'm sorry, Lucy.
Come
I didn't mean
on.
to cut you off, but Tootsie Roll's not Dave Grohl. Please.
It pretty much is.
Listen, 5 years from the day they retired Tootsie Rolls, the Tootsie Roll will enter the Hall of Fame.
Tootsie Roll's a compiler.
First ballot.
It's not a compiler unless Hank Aaron.
It's just been around forever.
It's never been the best candy.
It's a Tootsie Roll.
It's just been around. It hasn't been the best. It's just been there.
Listen, I don't like the Milky Way, but it's in the Candy Hall of Fame. Okay, I don't
That's
like
'cause it's
Milky
good.
Ways. I don't like Three Musketeers. Candy Hall of Fame. I respect Three Musketeers. I do.
This was Woody's draft. Tootsie Roll, Airhead, Now and Later, Candy Corn, Warheads.
Chris Cody, would you do me the favor when you're the executive producer of not yawning giant yawns in my face while leaning back in your seat because you've had too much to drink and slept on the couch in here? Can you just pretend to hide a little more behind your glasses when you do that job?
And we're talking candy.
I mean,
wheelhouse.
I would think it would be your wheelhouse. I do.
I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
He is really struggling. By the way, I just want to say publicly for the first time, I'm so happy for Roy Bellamy. He was the only reason that I was rooting for.
Agreed.
I guess, though, I should say the only reason I wasn't rooting against the Panthers, because I thought about how sad Roy would be. After the Oilers tied it up on Monday, I thought, man, Roy is probably freaking out right now. I don't want to see him sad. I want this for Roy. And I was so happy.
You
that
are
he
not
was able
alone.
to celebrate.
It was palpably and legitimately moving to me to see him happy and to see our audience legitimately happy for him.
All right, we have made it from Amarin Beck Arena to the infield, which is a couple blocks down.
We are made it. Can you get the we are? I want to make T-shirts. Tony.
We are made
Tony,
it.
yes. Tony was at home yesterday and he kept rewinding the YouTube.
I must have played it 35 times.
All right, we have made it from Amarin Beck Arena to the infield, which is a couple blocks down.
Couple blocks down.
There's like 4 parts in there that I love. It's just a couple blocks down.
All right, we have made it from Amarin Beck Arena to the infield, which is a couple blocks down.
Get me the we are made it. I want to make T-shirts that are we are made it.
Wait, Smetty is upset because she just wants to celebrate Roy. She doesn't like this.
I didn't think bringing up Roy was going to lead to the public roast.
Oh,
of
no.
Roy. And now I feel bad. Now I feel like this is my fault. And you guys are the
He
We
was,
have made it.
he was happy. Go ahead and play him just being happy.
All right, we have made it from Amarin Beck Arena to the infield, which is a couple blocks down.
You guys wouldn't understand what it's like to be non-bandwagon fans of a team that wins a championship.
Video, play for me, please, Roy from the bar. Play the different sound of we are made it.
All right, we have made it from Amarin Beck Arena to the infield, which is a couple blocks down.
Just like his face, you can see.
I love the arm angle too, like pointing down. That's great.
So happy for that guy.
The team, the comedy team of Roy Bellamy and David Dwork,
it's great.
visually funny. Just it's physically funny. This backfired on Jessica. She was trying to celebrate.
Terrible.
All right, we have made it from Amarin Beck Arena to the infield, which is a couple blocks down.
This sounds
Couple
like
blocks down.
This sounds like me when I was like 19 years old telling my mom very drunkly that I was going somewhere. This is what it sounds like.
Wasn't Roy invited last night to partake in all of that video everywhere that is of you and Izzy and Mike Ryan? Izzy got a table at 11, correct? Was Roy not invited, or did he not end up going because he didn't feel like going?
I don't know who Izzy invited, but he probably reached out to
passing
Roy.
the buck real quick.
I don't know. It wasn't my
Izzy
table.
invited.
I was invited.
Someone should have said to Izzy, hey, maybe you want to invite Roy? I mean,
He knows about Roy. I bet he invited Roy.
He knows about
debatable.
Glad we brought this up.
About Roy.
I'm going to ask him.
I have just learned that the 7'9" center for Florida is a 3-star recruit.
Ow!
He is not a 5-star.
must be the worst basketball player who ever lived.
He can't be very good. If he's 7'9", you got to be better than a 3-star recruit.
Probably a bit stiff.
Let's play some audio of Stugotz drunk talking to Ludacris, please.
How much does the watch cost, Ludacris? How much?
I don't know. I got it for free. That's a good question.
That's an indelicate question, right? You don't ask a woman what she weighs, and you don't ask a hip-hop star what his jewelry's worth, do you?
That's why he let me ask the question.
You really don't.
Stop.
Stugotz decided at a 10 p.m. broadcast to whip down 6 gin and tonics right before we started.
How much does the watch cost, Ludacris?
It was Shaq's birthday. I mean,
Roy Bellamy, comparative to you, sounds like AI Al Michaels
All right, we have
compared to
made it
you.
from Amarin Beck Arena to the infield, which is a couple blocks down.
Does the watch cost, Ludacris?
oh man!
I want to, Stugotz, we didn't tackle this in the local hour, but there was a bit of a public shift here in a way that I thought was interesting because the Miami Heat lose in the playoffs in the first round after getting to the finals last year on the back of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's leverage skyrockets when you see what happens to the team against the Celtics, when the Celtics counter everything Jimmy Butler has been by building a champion, and then Jimmy Butler says after his team is eliminated, we wouldn't have been eliminated if I had played. Pat Riley says, if you're not playing, you should keep your mouth shut. Now, we were talking when all of this happened. Jimmy was very public about, I want an extension, I want an extension. His agent worked on, I want an extension. And Pat Riley's response was, shut your mouth if you're not playing. And then yesterday, after Jimmy has told anyone who will listen, Miami's where I want to be. Anyone who will listen, Miami is where I wish to play, but I'd like an extension. Pat Riley said, publicly, there will be no extension. And then yesterday, and this is not small, I don't think, it's announced by Shams. Nobody else was announcing it. Jimmy Butler will play this season and take no extensions from anybody. The negotiating window is closed. He will become a free agent at the start of the 2025 season. Your thoughts are what on what played out yesterday? Because that was months of Jimmy Butler saying, I want an extension. Jimmy Butler showing you how valuable he is, or the team showing you how valuable he is when he's not available. And then more quietly yesterday, never mind about all that. There will be no extension, just like Pat Riley said. And Pat Riley told Jimmy Butler to shut his mouth. And evidently the contract wanting mouth is now shut.
I happen to agree with Riley. It was a stupid thing for Jimmy to say. Jimmy has been great. He has far exceeded anyone's expectations, including Riley's, I think, since he's been down here. It seems like... Well, Dan, let me ask you this first before I go forward with this. Do you think Jimmy deserves an extension? Do you think the Heat should give Jimmy an extension?
What I found interesting about yesterday is Bam got his money, and Jimmy, it's announced that he will not be getting his money, not now. He wants it now, and he will not be getting it now. Does he deserve an extension? Sure. I mean, it's hard to get those players, and I would want a player like that, but his age is something that and how unavailable he was last year, I could see why it is the Heat will say, we'll play this out, and if it's Donovan Mitchell in a year or somebody else in a year, we'll take our chances with somebody else in a year.
Let's remember that Jimmy has a player option after this year as well, so it's essentially a contract year for him if he wants an extension. If something goes wrong, he has another year he can opt into. But this news came out with Shams and through Brian Windhorst as well, and I found it interesting that this news comes out where not a lot of news often comes from the Heat. A lot of the time it comes through agents. And so Jimmy positioning it himself as he's determined were the words that I believe Shams used to have the best year of his career. and he's going to play this out and try to test free agency. It's fascinating given Riley's comments, which were, we want to see you available playing games. This all sort of worked out the way that the Heat hoped. They got to cash in on Bam's extension before dealing with all of the extra bonuses that come in it through all NBAs because he wasn't named Defensive Player of the Year. Jimmy Butler now publicly announces himself, hey, I'm good in Miami. That comes out. He doesn't want to be traded anywhere. And I'm going to play this year to have the best season I've ever had after Riley challenged him to play more regular season games. And the two of them saying, hey, we're here and we're ready to win, also allows the Heat to potentially recruit some other stars who might be interested to now play with them.
I don't think there's any chance the Heat go into the season the same way that they were built last year.
They can't.
I agree. They go with Jimmy as contract year. Let's see what you have. You're trying to prove yourself to the entire league because you want your money. Here, go earn it. Play the games, and I'm guessing they'll get him new teammates, at least some, to play with him.
All right, we have made it from Amarin Beck Arena.
Welcome to the show. I encourage everybody to check out the Mina Show with Lenny, uncommon football expertise, and she talks about other stuff, well-rounded in a number of different areas. One of the things that I wish to talk to you about is everything going on with the 49ers because they can't pay everyone, and it seems to me that Ayuk's family members, that I keep hearing from people around the Ayuks that he's not going to be there anymore through whatever it is that they're doing on social media. What is actually happening there with the 49ers?
Well, first I'll say I hate trying. We on all of my shows at ESPN, we do stories based on the social media activity of athletes. Now, ex-athlete unfollowed the team and he posted this and he liked this angry tweet. And sometimes it turns out to be something. Stephon Diggs is no longer a Buffalo Bill, but a lot of times it's all for nothing. So I hate reading too much into it. I do think feelings get hurt in these drawn out public negotiations, and that doesn't necessarily indicate where the negotiations are actually going or how they're going to end. I believe that the Niners are going to keep Ayuk. I think they want to keep Ayuk. That's not based on reporting, although we've heard reports to that effect. But it's my opinion from a football perspective, because when you look at this roster and it's an all-star team on offense, Ayuk strikes me as more indispensable than some of the other players, particularly I think Deebo Samuel is the wide receiver they're more likely to move on from. Probably not this year. It would be next year, and then they would pay Brock Purdy, so they're kind of threading the needle there. But Ayuk is, I think, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I think he's a true number one. I think he's an incredible route runner. I think he can win at all three levels. He has great hands. And he brings something to that offense that really nobody else does on the team. He would produce more if he was in any other offense, not playing with the aforementioned all-star team. Whereas Deebo is incredibly unique, and I don't think anyone reproduces what he does. But the combination of Christian McCaffrey, the receiver that they drafted this year in the first round, Ricky Pearsall, to me, that felt more like, okay, we can at least approximate some of what Deebo does in terms of the carries, the work behind the line of scrimmage, some of the play action concepts over the middle of the field. There's nobody else on the roster who was a receiver like Brandon Ayuk.
Wouldn't the majority of the audience think that Deebo Samuel is better, more important, and more valuable than Ayuk?
He maybe was at one point, Dan, but I think we're sort of entering the downturn of, we already have his career, in part because of how he's been used. This was a complaint of his. Receivers are not really meant to be used like to be given running back carries. You're taking an amount of punishment, contact that is very unique for that position. I think, he obviously is, I would say obviously, he has at points been more valuable from a fantasy perspective, from a counting stats perspective, production-wise. He's been more famous, and I think, we associate him so closely with that team. But I think that while he is one of the more unique players in the NFL and an absolute unicorn, I think just looking at this offense as a whole and the guys that they have, he is the player who is a bit more dispensable than Ayuk.
Can we play for Mina the Al Michaels AI and get her thoughts on Al Michaels, the computer?
Ty Kelly, welcome to your daily Olympic recap, your personal rundown of yesterday's most thrilling Olympic moments. Since you're a swimming fan, let's head right to the pool. Team USA secured a stunning victory in the men's 4x100-meter medley relay, smashing the world record. Over at the diving venue, Krista Palmer showcased resilience and skill, overcoming past knee surgeries to qualify for the women's springboard final. Meanwhile, a tough break for Canada's Pamela Ware as a failed final dive scored 0, ending her bid for the final. Check out these highlights from yesterday's action.
Robot Al sounds bored with Al.
That's worse than I thought it would be. I haven't heard it until this moment. I just saw the headline. I'm actually shocked how bad that sounds, because while a lot of AI, generative AI, is really terrible, I just watched that Toys R Us commercial, which was honestly hauntingly bad. Vocal AI has actually been pretty good. You know, you hear it with a lot of music stuff, and they use it to replicate musicians, and it actually sounds pretty similar. I'm not saying it's good from an artistic perspective. That sounds terrible. I feel the same way about this, Dan, that I do a lot about AI in the creative space, which is I don't understand who or what it's for. It kind of, it reminds me a little bit about how like CVS and all the drugstores started adding self-checkout over the last 5 years or so, even though nobody wanted it and everybody hates it. And it felt like they just kind of did it because they could do it. And now a lot of them are scaling it back. No, Tony, come on. You don't
Absolutely
like
not. I go self-checkout. Every time I have the option to do it, I do it. CVS, Publix, Target, whatever it is. I want to just go through my stuff and do it because I do it fast.
Okay, but the CVS in particular, their self-checkout thing is the worst. It is
Awful.
constantly dinging at you. It's screaming at you the entire time you're battling with that machine.
I just have to look at myself. Terrible angle on the security camera. Oh, yeah.
Half the time, they don't have bags. So, like, you have to find a human to get you a bag because there hasn't been... Maybe that the human employees have been sabotaging self. I hope so.
And then if you buy alcohol, you got to wait for someone to come and put your driver's license in. Like, you end up needing help. Or if you're at Target and you get something with a little sensor on it, and then they have to come take the sensor off, you still need the people to help you.
I just don't understand what and most of this AI is for. Other than, and you can say, well, I guess from the business standpoint, they're saving money. I'm not even 100% sure that's the case with a lot of this stuff. The environmental cost of it, I think, outweighs the financial savings at the moment. And that's not like an anti-AI. I think there's a lot of actual uses for AI, research, coding, things like that. But every creative output I've seen to this point has been totally useless and bad. So I don't know why. I don't know who thought, yes, this is what we need. AI Al Michaels. This is what people want. Everybody really wants to hear this. I cannot fathom a soul on earth wanting that.
It just feels like we're using it just because it's there. It's like,
Yes.
oh, we have AI. Like, why don't we just put Al Michaels' voice on it and just like trot it out and it'll be okay.
Creating solutions to a problem nobody has.
As it's very easy to replace Al Michaels, though, by just the Al putting AI in there instead and just make it I Michaels. That's right. A little bit Hispanic if you need to get
All right,
that.
I'm back in.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Does a soul on earth clamor for the AI version of Al Michaels? Also put on the poll, is the CVS auto checkout the worst? Mina, you and Pablo are perpetually making fun of how old I am, the way that I used to make fun of Tony Kornheiser for how old he is. But I rarely feel older than when I'm standing in the Whole Foods checkout line and all the young people are self-checking out and I'm looking at who's surrounding me. And I am in a nursery home. This is just old people.
There's self-checkout. I haven't been to Whole Foods I actually think Whole Foods, the checkout is good because of their line system is so efficient. It actually gets you through very quickly. I would never self-checkout at Whole Foods. I go to that line system. One of the most unpleasant experiences in modern life is choosing the wrong line at the store. You get in the wrong grocery line, the other one moves fast, and you feel that cost. It just stings. Whole Foods, they put you in, and then they call out the number, and then this has been most of the Whole Foods I go to. They send you to the right one, which I find incredibly gratifying.
I can pick a line with the best of them at a grocery store. No one's better than me. I can assess how many groceries you got. Okay, there's 3 people in line here, but this person in front's got 14 things. These 5 people all have 2 things, so I'm going to go in this line with 5 people.
Little Gruden in there. I'm
telling you, man.
You got to look at the produce. That's why your self-checkout's the worst, by the way, at the grocery store. You're like, 40697.
I try to be helpful.
No container. It takes forever.
I try to tell them what fruit it is. Like, this is asparagus. You don't have to put the number in.
Or then you accidentally swipe something twice and you're double charged for it and you don't know how to do it and you have to find an employee and it's embarrassing because they walk over and they have to start over and they're punching buttons and the whole thing takes longer than it would if you just got to the line like a normal person.
I'm self-checkout, though, because I just don't really like interacting with other people a lot of the time that I go to the grocery store. I'd just rather not see a human being, unless it's Trader Joe's, because the people at the checkout line at Trader Joe's are taught to flirt with you. And that feels really nice.
You know what, though? I like it when the clerk, compliments my groceries.
Oh, the best.
Like, nice. Throwing a party?
Don't try to guess what I'm making for dinner
something good?
tonight. Don't try to guess what I'm making for dinner tonight. She's like, oh, you got to make a little pasta dish, huh? It's like, yeah.
I feel that's invasive. I feel all of that is voyeuristic in a way that's uncomfortable.
I met a guy at a party recently who works for OpenAI, and I was like, I have a bunch of ideas for things that are actually useful, not for making commercials, and I didn't call them to his face, but I said, okay, how about this? Tell me what you guys think of this use for AI. An app. You point it at your fridge, it scans the whole fridge and gives you a list of all of the things you can make with everything in your fridge.
Oh, that's fire.
There is a website that does that.
No way. But you have to manually type it in.
You have to type in what you have.
He was like, that's overly facile. He's like, that's a waste of our efforts. And I was like, you know what's a waste of your efforts? Your commercials. But sorry,
wow.
Or Michaels.
I really do enjoy the idea of a pervert with a kink taking the job at Trader Joe's just because he wants to try and guess what you're making for dinner based on what it is.
Ooh, a little steak and salad.
Ooh, cilantro. Are you? Yeah, I do like a pervert just being employed doing nothing but making guesses about your ingredients.
Or like a pickup artist who's like trying to get his new game. He's like a stand-up comic where he's got to play the little clubs, right, to see what's going on. Okay, this will work later tonight.
You know what's a tragic side effect of being like a mom now and being in my late 30s is the feeling of disappointment you get when the clerk doesn't flirt with you, or when you buy alcohol and you don't get carded. It's kind of like that. But there's like a tipping point for women, or just for me. I don't want to overly generalize, where when like a teenage clerk is like a little bit flirtatious, you walk out and you're like, still got it, which I did not feel until maybe like a year ago, I think. Late 30s.
I've never been flirted with at Trader Joe's. I'm feeling left out.
Oh, it feels
I got carded
amazing.
for buying vanilla the other day.
What?
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Are the clerks at Trader Joe's trained to flirt with you? Also, please, I know I said nursery home instead of nursing home. I put myself in a house full of babies instead of...
or flowers.
Instead of...
plants.
Instead of Joe Biden. I'm sorry, Mina, you were going to say something?
Would you be flattered if an AI clerk flirted with you?
Yes.
Like her?
Any guy? Oh, the
just
Joaquin
empty
Phoenix
sounding,
movie. Yes,
just like,
yes.
Oh, your eyes are nice.
Yes, I love the smell of nachos on your breath. Mina, what are you watching these days? Because I asked you yesterday if you had seen the Celine Dion documentary, if you had seen the Kevin Spacey documentary. They just asked you about the Dallas Cowboys documentary. You're always watching interesting things. Have you gotten a hold of The Bear yet?
I think the better question is, why are you watching the most depressing content in the world? Your text was like, have you seen the Celine Dion documentary?
Oh,
it's brutal.
So heartbreaking. It really is. I was getting ready for my next South Beach session. I'm trying to get into shape by being properly sad before I start.
You have like a filter for the most depressing content on earth. I am excited for The Bear. I love The Boys. Season 4 of The Boys is back. I think it's really good. I find that show to be one of the more consistently entertaining things like out there right now. I just think it's so fun to watch. It's a little bit on like I guess, obvious sometimes with the allegory and what it's sending up, but that doesn't really bother me because it's just so entertaining. I really like trashy crime procedural shows, and I am really liking the new Jake Gyllenhaal, the Presumed Innocent on Apple TV.
This guy, I mean, come on. Mina, what is this guy doing? Not going to let that out.
It's the #1 show on Apple, that one.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, Tony, every, 15 minutes, his character just gets worse and worse.
You're like, are you kidding me? You were what?
I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
What was that word?
Yeah.
Wire?
We're enjoying that. But I'm excited for The Bear. I can't believe the new season of The Bear is out already. It feels like those Scott Turow, James Patterson, like they keep just turning them out, and usually you have to wait such a long time. Like the Dragon Show, which I also watch, I feel like we had to wait 4 years or something for a new Dragon Show.
Is there anything Amazon has made with its studios better than The Boys? Because I associate that as a higher quality of what it is that they're making there than some of the other things. And it's that good. It's not even. I'm not even indicting the rest of what Amazon is doing. But what is second place on the best creative thing that Amazon regularly makes? They've got all of the money in the world, obviously, to make things. That's a big budget production. When I discovered The Boys, I was like, wow, how does it? It almost was my introduction in general to Amazon streaming, to see something that big hidden behind a paywall.
Yeah, it's actually, you kind of argue the same with Apple, right? They make all these shows and it seems like nobody actually watches them. Like I'm always trying to bring up Apple shows in conversation and nobody seems to have heard of half of them because I don't think it's because of the quality of the show. They spend a ton on them. I think a lot of it is just a lot of folks don't actually subscribe to the service and don't want to add another one. Amazon, everybody has because so many people have Prime, but I think that they've spent a lot of money. I've read a lot of articles about this. And just haven't had hits like, Netflix and Max. I know they did the big Lord of the Rings show. The Wheel of Time, was
Rings
the
of
big
Power
one. And
was
yeah,
pretty good, Mina. I don't know.
There's some smaller Amazon shows. Oh, Fallout, I know people really love. I haven't watched that one.
Excellent. Fallout was really good. The set design, like the story, like everything's been really good.
The League of Their Own reboot was good, but then they canceled it after like one season.
Didn't know about that one. First of all, The Boys spinoff, Gen V, was actually excellent. You don't have to watch it to watch The Boys, and you probably have to watch The Boys to watch that. But I thought that was really well made. I thought the Mr. and Mrs. Smith reboot was strangely good. I didn't think it would be good. It's the Donald Glover, Maya Erskine, who's an actress people say looks like me, who does not look like me at all. I found it to be actually really well written and funny, and I thought they had excellent chemistry. There are 2 Amazon shows that I constantly recommend to people that nobody has watched. I just talked about this on the podcast. One is the show Patriot, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. It's about a depressed spy. It was 2 seasons. And then the other is a show called Counterpart, where J.K. Simmons, it's a science fiction show, plays a man who discovers that he has a counterpart in a world that's exactly the same as our world, but slightly different. They had a major pandemic there. That also was 2 seasons, both excellent.
Fleabag. I forgot about Fleabag. That's my mistake.
That's a great one.
It is the most critically acclaimed thing that Amazon has done. It has received a lot of different kinds of awards. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Does Mina indeed look like Maya Erskine? Does she?
No.
Does she? Put it on the poll. You can vote if you want to. I saw that you voted earlier. You think there's a worse candy than candy corn and black licorice? You had a nomination.
I put up Red Hots, which I think are disgusting. And sometimes I'll eat them by accident, like if I'm just rifling through like a candy thing and opening it and not really paying attention. And bleh,
I hate that. I hate when I'm trying to get cherry or strawberry and I get cinnamon. When I get fooled by the jelly beans, that's a terrible feeling. Surely that's happened to all of you. Tell me that's happened.
Happens all the time. Oh, I accidentally ate a Snickers.
The popcorn jelly bean. Ooh.
Mina, the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift story is being commemorated by Hallmark in a movie I think that's being called Holiday Touchdown, a Chiefs love story. Your thoughts on everything that is happening with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, that, crescendos here with Travis Kelce in a tuxedo with his friends going on stage and carrying his beloved off the stage in an act of romantic chivalry.
I don't think that the movie is about them, unless I'm mistaken. I read a short plots. I think if it was about them, they would it would be legally a little bit contentious. But I think it is tapping into the fact that the Chiefs have, because of this relationship, God, that video is weird, become such an incredibly large brand, which is hilarious to say about a team that has the best quarterback in football and is now really kind of a dynasty. But it is because of this. I find it fascinating. Anytime we do Chiefs content, put out Chiefs anything, now it's reaching this much bigger audience and people care about everything related to the Chiefs more purely because of the Taylor Swift aspect, which is fascinating. I find this relationship so interesting because I remember on Pablo's show, we talked a little bit about Travis Kelce and how good he is at being famous. And it's so odd. Like, she managed to date and find, and maybe there is a little bit of intention here, the one NFL player who I think similarly to her doesn't really offend anyone. Like, he is equally capable of being in the public eye and being, I understand that there are people who are bothered by them and for various reasons, but for the most part, they're both like these incredibly innocuous, kind of like glossy, smoothed over cultural figures that seem to be like very compatible from a fame perspective.
Who is more famous now, Mina? Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce?
That's such a good question. Is it Travis Kelce?
It has to be Travis Kelce. I don't think it's close. All of Taylor Swift's fans know who Travis Kelce is, and intimately. They know him so well to the point where, like you mentioned, this movie is not even about their story. It's just the Chiefs now throwing their brand on top of this story. It's about, I think, a fan engagement director falling in love with a fan, and there's some sort of story around Christmas doing that. But Travis Kelce's so big. I saw someone tweet it yesterday that he's going to be the next person doing those movies like Vin Diesel and The Rock did, but not the action ones, doing the movies like those children's football movies or babysitting movies, because he has that type of charisma as this big, goofy dude.
And he wants it. I think that's kind of what I was hinting at here. Like, it in some ways, you could have like almost a reverse Notting Hill, or I get it is in the Notting Hill where like, oh, what is it like to date the most famous person in the world? It strikes me that he just seems so, and I'm not questioning their relationship at this point. I think it seems to be very real, but like, he was more ready for this than arguably any football player on earth. He has said he wants to be a Hollywood personality. He wants to be in movies. He seems to want to be famous, but his desire to be so is not aggravating, at least to me personally. Like, he wants to be famous. He's ready to be famous, but he doesn't seem thirsty. And I guess it doesn't bother me at all. He seems to be like, it's like she could not have picked the more perfect NFL player to be her partner in all of this.
Lucy and I will co-produce the Dave Grohl response Disney Hallmark whatever movie about a band member falling in love with a fan.
I did enjoy Taylor Swift Twitter arguing that Dave Grohl is just trying to be famous and get attention from that. That was pretty funny.
The thing that made me notice that Travis Kelce wanted some of this that I didn't realize that he wanted wasn't him just going up to Stugotz whenever it is that he saw Stugotz trying to figure out how he could get into podcasts, but it's when I was watching on Netflix some sort of space show, the name I don't know of, John C. Reilly and somebody else, and there as one of the astronauts is Travis Kelce. And I'm like it was before he became obviously this kind of famous, but it was strange to see it. It was years ago. And I was like, what is he doing? Like, why is he doing this? It's a bit part. And yes, he very badly wants to be famous, has taken an exceptional route toward getting it because he's going to have any number of opportunities. If you think Jason was coveted this offseason, wait till Travis becomes somebody who starts post-career stuff.
But everything we're describing, I feel like should be annoying, but isn't. Do you guys disagree with me? I don't find anything about him I find his personality to be totally fine, and he seems affable. Like, you typically, if you have someone who's like very obviously, arguably overexposed, and I don't think even Kelsey fans would disagree with that, or Chiefs fans, he's literally everywhere, who wants to be famous. Like, typically when those qualities I feel like would belong to an athlete who really gets on a lot of people's nerves, I find him to be totally pleasant, maybe neutral to people. I don't feel like it would be surprising to me if a lot of people dislike him.
Same can be
10.
said of her, Mina Kimes. Totally pleasant, or at worst, neutral.
I thought Lucy was saying he's a 10.